That felt good. I feel ready.
Glad you feel better. Hello and welcome to the podcast, number 49. Hello, Crusade Podcast with Pedro Now. My name's Gareth Evans. That was Henry Wobbly Face Cooper.
Who needs a cup of coffee when you can just shake your face like the guy in Star Wars? I'll get his name. Give me a minute. Boss Nass. He's a Jar Jar. He's a Gungan fat one. Do you not remember? You're missing out.
Well, you did remind me of him just then with that facial manoeuvre. Congratulations.
A cross between a bulldog and a frog. A bullfrog, if you will.
Awesome. So on today's podcast, what do we have? What do you have for us, Henry?
Well, we've got some stuff about a Mass Effect writer, well, technically former, who was working at BioWare and then he's moved on, he's doing other things, but he's sort of spilled the beans, not in loads of detail, but he said there's a couple of good quotes where he's being a bit mean to them. Some first-hand Outriders info from our very own Gareth Evans, which is very exciting.
I've been ungagged. I'm allowed to talk about it now.
I mean, technically, right now, it's pre-embargo.
Yeah, until 8 p.m. tonight.
Exactly. By the time you're listening to this in the future, well, your present, our past. Anyway, then we're going to talk a bit about what we've been playing. Don't know how long we're going to talk about that. Then there'll be some Discord questions as usual, followed by a Triggered Fanboy comment, and then some regular YouTube comments, and we'll close things out with a weekly Bad Dad joke.
Bada boom, bada bing.
So let's go into this Mass Effect stuff. I don't know how much you know about this, Gaz, or indeed listeners. But there's a new studio that's forming, made up of a handful of ex-BioWare people. And we'll get to the more juicy stuff in a bit, so I'll just give you a quick roundup on what this studio is. It's based in Austin, Texas, and it's called Archetype Entertainment, and it's set up by Wizards of the Coast.
We know who they are, don't we?
A publisher who we famously didn't know who they were, but they're known for doing...
roasted for it by a bunch of triggered fanboys.
It made for a good triggered segment, that's for sure. Go back and look for that if you can. So they're known for making Magic the Gathering, the real card game and the video game version of the card game.
They own the IP,
digital card
right?
game. Yeah, they do some Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but the Magic the Gathering is their bread and butter. So that studio is led by two ex-BioWare staff. One guy called James Olin, who is the head of the studio. He's the former creative director and lead designer at BioWare and worked on stuff like Baldur's Gate, Dragon Age Origins, and KOTOR, as well as, I think, bits and pieces of Mass Effect. Chad Robertson will be the general manager of this new studio. Chad.
What, Chad?
I went to school with a guy called Chad, and he's the only English person I've ever met called Chad. Because it's the stereotypically American name. Like if
I play football with a Chad.
You're a jock or something, or a frat boy. So Chad Robertson, it will be the general manager of Archetype, and he was the former head of live services on Anthem, which doesn't necessarily sound all that good, but he was also the head of studio at BioWare Austin. And he left BioWare back in November. Excitingly, the studio is supposed to be developing a narrative-driven RPG. Not a card game by the sounds of it.
Sci-fi RPG, sorry. I'm reading your notes here.
Well, at least someone is. Narrative-driven sci-fi RPG, which doesn't sound like a card game, which is great news. And if you want a narrative-driven sci-fi RPG, you kind of want the people who did the narrative-driven sci-fi RPG to make it, and that is obviously Mass Effect. Now, according to the studio's mission statement on their official studio website, it says, "Our goal is to create the greatest story-driven role-playing games in the world." So they're pretty ambitious, and they're not like a full studio yet. They've got like a dozen or so vacancies on their website for various developers and artists and stuff. So they're filling all the different industry positions. So it sounds like it's the makings of something that could be pretty great. And now this is kind of old news because a lot of this story started breaking at the end of January. But the recent update, which is why we're talking about it, is because the lead writer on Mass Effect, so obviously a very, very influential person on that series, whose name I'm going to struggle to pronounce, Drew Karpyshyn. I'm going to say Karpyshyn. Mm-hmm. Drew Karpyshyn has also joined the team, and you might not know him by name, but chances are if you're a fan of BioWare, you're a fan of this guy. And he's worked on Baldur's Gate 2, Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, and The Old Republic, and 5 different Star Wars books sort of set around that period with Darth Bane and Revan and all that. Worked on Jade Empire, Mass Effect 1 and 2 and 3, not Mass Effect 3, 3 individual Mass Effect books. There's some prequels and spin-off stuff in there, and worked on Anthem. but that's not to criticize him, because by all accounts, some of the, I'm not going to say best, but less terrible stuff in Anthem is the writing.
Yeah.
That's not its fundamental flaw. There's plenty of those elsewhere in the game. The guy also has his own book trilogy called the Chaos Born series, so he's quite competent writer, and he's working on a bunch of different projects. And I found out that he's kind of been in and out of BioWare for a while, and it seems to me like returning to an old ex-girlfriend and expecting things to change, but they just sort of were the same, or arguably worse, as we'll soon find out. So from 2000 to 2012, he worked there, but then left to pursue personal projects, because he's written these books by himself and other books for other people on other IPs, not just original stuff. And then he came back between 2015 and 2018, and then after that rebound back to the X, he left to work with 21st Century Fox's studio, Fogbank Entertainment. That studio doesn't exist anymore, because since Disney bought Fox, they've destroyed it. They've closed it, and about 60 people lost their jobs. So that's not very good, but we don't know where that's going to go. Anyway, on this chap Karpyshyn's website, he explains why he left BioWare. This is his personal website.
So he's no affiliation with the company with BioWare.
Nope.
But he's worked there a couple of times, and he's got some juicy nuggets of information about how they operated and the way which they operated, right? And this is the kind of thing that you could kind of speculate about before we get into it. Obviously, I'm just setting this up just to build a bit of anticipation. But it is quite insightful, right? And before we carry on, I'm going to go and strangle my dog because he's barking like a little annoying... I promise you, I will not strangle him. I will just put him in the kitchen and close the door. 1 second. My dog's still alive. My dog is still alive, barely
breathing,
and he stopped barking at the very least. So yeah. So what did this guy Karpyshyn say?
So he said on his personal website, I've been in the video game industry for 20 years now. When I started at BioWare, everything was fresh and exciting. It was a dream job, talented people working together to create epic games like Baldur's Gate, KOTOR, Mass Effect, and Dragon Age. But as we grew and became more successful, things changed. We became more corporate, which is one of the first things we can really hold on to, but let's just carry on for a bit. We were less able to make what we loved, and the teams were pushed to create games based on market research rather than our creative instincts and passions. My dream job became just a job, and I lost the enthusiasm and excitement I once had. Now, that's part of a wider statement, but saying that things became more corporate and they were pushed to make make games based on market research instead of artistic integrity is really quite telling, and speaks volumes to what we've been talking about for years now around BioWare and the corporatization of them as a company from EA, obviously being their publisher, with games like Mass Effect or Andromeda and Anthem. It's exactly what we've been saying from the outside. We
have been saying this, it's one thing for us as onlookers to looking at a situation and judging for ourselves, it must be because of this, it must be the big wigs, it must be the corporate people making the decisions and forcing these elements into games, forcing them to do games as a service, forcing them to change the way that they're making games. That, there's always a level of guesswork involved with that, right? We're just saying it looks like this because we can never say that for definite. This guy is from the inside, and he says that himself. So that pretty much validates everything we've been saying for the last 4 years, right?
Exactly. And clearly, if he felt that way, there's certainly going to be other people who also felt that way and didn't have the confidence or weren't in a position to leave. Well, luckily, one of the most talented people there has left, and he's going on to this new studio, Archetype, and is going to hopefully make something really good. He speaks a bit more about that and how important this new studio will be to him. But with Archetype, my passion has been rekindled. The feel in the studio reminds me of my early days at BioWare. I can feel the magic in the air. And even though I can't get too deep into the specifics of what we're working on yet, we're already generating plenty of excitement in the industry. Plenty of excitement, I think, might be a bit premature, but there's a lot of people saying if there's a new studio and it's got these names attached to it, this could be something to watch. But I wouldn't expect to see anything for a long while, because they're still, they're still in the early days. They've just kind of formed this leadership team. But see, that sounds a lot like the BioWare magic, quote unquote, that the old devs always speak about, the original team, and how hopefully everything will just fall together in the last 3 months of production. It's not crunch, it's BioWare magic, we swear.
Yeah, I think absolutely, and the fact that he's moved on now and he feels like his passion is rekindled, as he put it. It's great. But I mean, I'll go back to the BioWare thing a little bit, because him talking about the fact that it was one way and then it became more corporate, and they're just squeezing the creativity out gradually over time because they're following marketing research. It's the one way to absolutely kill anybody's desire to play a game, and you see this so often from the big industry, big corporation heads like Andrew Wilson or any of the other ones. I can't think of examples of from what they said off some head. But yeah, they're all at it saying, oh yeah, we've crunched the numbers and there's social interaction and this and this that, and it's based on that market research. What they're doing is they're looking at what's popular and they're trying to emulate that. They look at things like Fortnite, and their takeaway from that is, right, battle royale genre game is popular. Social based games are popular, and what they're doing is literally they're using that as a template going forward, and they're trying to emulate that to have the same sort of prosperity and same sort of results as Fortnite. And as we've seen time and time again, it doesn't work. You need to be original. You need to be creative. You need to break new ground, not just be a copier, not just be a follower. You need to come up with new shit. That's why Fortnite was successful, right? Everyone has got a Fortnite. Who needs a new Fortnite?
Yeah, and it's like game design by numbers like this, where it's almost like you're following an instruction manual of how to.
Yeah.
Like this, like IKEA
it's not
furniture.
Creative at all, is it?
Like it doesn't make much money really, because every time these games come out, they get, even if they're reviewed reasonably well, people like them for a little bit. They're never as successful as these companies ever want them to be.
Yeah.
And the creators behind them don't like making them because it's not fulfilling. So they're going to eventually leave and they're going to go elsewhere and they're going to do it themselves. They're going to form these new studios with different companies backing them. I mean, Wizards of the Coast, they're not indie level. They're not really small, but they're not huge in terms of video gaming. They're much bigger in board gaming and card gaming, that sort of stuff. But they've got enough resources, in theory, to put together something that could be really quite interesting, especially given how ambitious they claim it to be.
And I think it's great that developers are making the choice. I mean, it's difficult, obviously, if you've got a job that you're quite cushy. It's quite cushy. You get paid a good wage, but it's soulless and it's not fulfilling. The bravery to leave that job and to go and find something else and to work on a smaller project but with passion and with heart is admirable, if you ask me. And
especially in an industry as volatile as gaming is, even when you're at the top.
Yeah. And I would never tell anybody what to do with their lives, but I think more people who do this, the more creative outlets, the more creativity is able to flourish in the industry. The more new types of games that we get, the more boundaries get pushed in the industry, and we're not just this cookie cutter machine that keeps churning out the same old shit every single year.
Yeah, and we unfortunately at the moment we know very, very little about what this game is, but narrative driven RPG, check, that sounds great. Original sci-fi setting, like brand new IP with brand new stuff, check. And a team full of experienced and talented developers, check. So those three key ingredients, sound like a good mixture for what could be a really good game. We won't know for a while, realistically, not for a couple of years at least, I would say.
Yeah, we'll see if they tack on game as a service.
Yeah, we'll see.
If it ends up games as a service, then we know.
Yeah, I mean, we can hope.
Yeah, we'll see how that turns out.
Just hope it's not a bloody card game. That's just it's not a bloody
Yeah,
card game.
it's probably not, considering the amount of
Yeah.
talent. They wouldn't pour all this talent into a bloody card game. You would hope.
One would
think.
hope. But you can't
You
be
never
sure.
know. All right, so have we got that covered?
Yeah, I
Got that
think
checked
so.
off?
We can now talk about a game that we do know stuff about,
We do know stuff.
but
that
you don't know stuff about.
you don't.
Well, he knows it.
Well,
I
you
know.
do.
I know
You
very
do.
little.
Yeah, I've
I've had
kind of explained.
tidbits of information.
Right, so Outriders, right? This is a game by People Can Fly, the developers behind Bulletstorm. And it's a bit of a departure from the previous game, Bulletstorm, because that's what that is a single-player, narrative-driven, first-person shooter.
Yep.
Right? Outriders is not that in a few ways, because it's not a single player. It's not, well, it's still kind of narrative driven, so they hold on to that. They hold on to the narrative aspect. But it's a third person shooter, drop in, drop out, co-op. Now, not a lot is known about this game, and everyone, and I look at the trailers, I've played it for 3 hours. They flew me over to Poland, and I should disclose, by the way, apparently I'm supposed to disclose, they paid for my my flight, they paid for my hotel, and they gave me a hoodie, and they gave me 2 cans of Red Bull.
Well,
So-
you've been spoiled.
Apparently, I'm supposed to disclose that because, according to the ASA or something, that this constitutes sponsored content because it's payment in kind or whatever. I've said it now. That's what they gave me. However, no YouTubers were bribed in the making of this video. I will give you my honest impressions on what the game's like, but you winking down at the camera.
No, of course not.
The game is different to what you'd expect from a People Can Fly game. I don't know where to start really. There's just so much info. I'll go through it as it happened, right? So we arrived there in the morning and they had the presentation before we got hands on. And the game's director, who is called, I don't know if it was the creative director or the game's director, but there's a guy, Bartosz Kmita. I nailed that.
I mean, I don't know if that's wrong, so let's just
Bartosz
roll with
Kmita.
it.
I actually interviewed him. I've got him saying it himself, so I should probably know.
Well, that's good.
So one of the first things he said on the stage was that it's not game as a service and there's no loot boxes.
Well, that's a win.
So it's a win straight off.
Unfortunate that we have to say that these days, but it is important.
That
to
was
say.
one of the main things. It's there's no loot boxes. It's a shoot game, true hybrid. He's called it. Interested with a shooter and depth of RPG. I think I misquoted him there, but it's a shooter with RPG elements in it, and it's hybrid. So there's a strong RPG push to this game. RPG first, they called it, and then a shooter afterwards. So it kind of tags onto that Bulletstorm narrative type thing, where you're in this new sci-fi universe. And, there's a lot of lore to it. It's a totally new IP. You're on this planet called Enoch. That's the location of the game. And you're an outrider. So the story
is an outrider.
So the story behind the Outriders. The Outriders are basically the Space Marines who were the first force to explore and tame a planet in order for humans to habit. Because apparently in this world, the Earth is dead or dying. So 2 arcs or big spaceships are sent through space to try and inhabit the universe elsewhere. So they come upon planet Enoch, and the Outriders are like the vanguard. So they're there basically making sure that they're basically a hired. I looked at some more of the lore, right, and there's they're working on behalf of this government agency or be set up in order to do the
terraforming.
No, the government and that there. So they're in charge of the government, but so they're like hired mercenaries really, because a lot of the Outriders were killed before they got there. I'm going into a little bit too much detail here, but that's excuse me. That's all in the bit that I read afterwards. Anyway, back to the point. So yeah, the Outriders are all pretty much decimated in the beginning of the game without spoiling too much, and you're one of the last ones left. There's a big war that erupts on Enoch, and it's, I don't know what they call it, the They call it a brutal war of attrition. So the whole planet is like basically decimated. It's all muddy and it's all dark and it's all dirty and it's all gritty. And that's like the visual that you get when you're on the...
I saw a YouTube comment from the trailer that described it as like sci-fi Mordor. And I was like, you know what, that's actually not bad, because it's all fiery and brimstone, but with occasional lasers and shooting things.
So the main point of the game is to follow the signal, right? There's a signal emanating somewhere from on the planet, and you've got to get there. What happens to you is you get infected by... Well, when you arrive there first, there's a big kind of hoo-ha. The Outriders get decimated. You, however, don't. You inherit some special abilities, which are your powers, and it's like the newest trailer kind of explained it a little bit, where this is not confirmed. This is me like putting two and two together. Like you're on a journey from becoming human into becoming whatever hybrid type of person you're going to be with all these powers, right? So that's the journey that you're going to go on while you're trying to follow this signal. So that's basically the plot and the setup. So how does the game play? Well, the world and the structure is built around social hubs where the player can take time out and interact with vendors, manage their gear, and decide on their next mission type thing. I always envision, it's the Destiny thing. There's the, what's it called in Destiny? There's the hub, player hub.
I don't remember what it is.
And then in Monster Hunter World, you've got the area where you're just chilling out and you're teaming up with players and stuff like that. A lot of people make comparisons with Destiny or Anthem.
But this one isn't a game as a service, right?
No, it's... Well, going back to the monetization thing, right? You said no loot boxes, but we're all cheering, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be any cosmetics, not going to be any additional monetization on top. I even asked in the interview with the developers, I'm not sure how I'm going to release this information, whether I'm going to do a video specifically on the interview, but I specifically asked the game director, and he said, we haven't got information to tell you about the additional monetization just now. We're just focused on delivering a full product at launch. We don't really know much about that. And my guess is that they don't really have a lot of control over that, because they're just the creators, right? So there's a hub system, a social area, and then you go off and do missions, which is what you'd kind of expect from these game as a service type thing, although it's not game as a service. So there are trucks in the game which act as like mobile forward bases. Now, we didn't get to see these in our playthrough. They weren't part of the demo, because you get to them after the 3 hours that we played. But they operate much like a mobile social hub type of thing. And you can drive them from place to place on the map, which is interesting. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, because, again, we didn't see that. But these trucks are customizable, and players can team up with other players, and they can go in convoys with the trucks. Again, we didn't see this happening. We just have to wait and see about these, how this works. When you choose your character, you've got a choice of 4 character classes, 3 of which were shown off at the event, and 1 of which we didn't see because they hadn't finished it. Pyromancer is the first class, which I chose and I played as. And that character controls fire, heat, radiation, and has got powers associated with them. The Trickster is the second class. That's a damage dealer and has powers around space and time, contortion. And then Devastator was the other one. And that's like the backbone, gravity control. That's the damage taker, the tank. One, So the Trickster are the, really quick, agile, get in your face and kill you up close. Pyromancers are like the area damage ones, and Devastators are the tanks. Like I said, one character class yet to be unveiled, so we don't know what that's going to be. So each character class has 8 unique skills, which will intentionally have a very short cooldown, so that guns and powers are used equally. And that's what they said. They specifically said that. And
that's cool.
From my experience playing it, yes, that's exactly how it is. The powers don't take that, they don't take minutes. It's like 20 seconds max to cool down.
I think that's one of the strengths, a very different game. One of the strengths of Control was that you're constantly switching between your shape-shifting gun pistol thing and using your powers at the same time. So a good mix of that makes it feel like more than just another third-person shooter. So if it does have a quick cooldown, that's always going to make things feel a bit fresher.
Yeah. So all guns are open to all classes. There's no cut off like in other games. Because you're a certain class doesn't mean that you're not allowed to use a certain weapon. You can use all weapons, and players carry 2 main weapons and 1 sidearm, each of which have different attributes and can be modified, which is a nice touch.
Yep.
There's loads of customization options available there. It's like when you play the game, it's like a cover shooter, right? So these guys worked on Gears of War Judgment in the past too. Yeah. So they've taken a lot from that into this. So if you watch some of the gameplay that has been posted over the last couple of days, it's the future for me, but it's the past few. You'll see that it is very much like Gears of War. You can see the what it's carried over from that.
And Gears Judgment plays the same as all the others, so it's very combat rolling and hiding behind chest high walls around all over the maps and like popping your head up and shooting stuff.
So back to the classes. Each class has a unique healing mechanic connected with their skills. So if I remember correctly, the Pyromancer, if you use a power on some of the enemies and then kill them while they're affected by the power, you heal. So that's the way that person heals. If you're within close proximity as the Trickster and you kill them, you will heal. So if you're too far away, you won't heal. So it incentivizes the Trickster to be very close to the... it
incentivizes that class's specific play style.
Exactly.
Oh, that's a cool way to do it.
And I don't remember what the Devastator was. But again, it's going to be keeping you playing as they want you to play as that class. So
is that the only way to heal? There's no health pickups or anything like that?
Not that I saw. Okay. I don't believe there's health pickups. But yeah, it's pretty easy. Healing's quite a quick mechanic. There's no shortage of being able to heal. That was from my experience anyway. So they said that the game is 40 hours to finish, and I asked them about that in the interview, and they said that's currently, from what I remember, what they're anticipating the average user to take. Now, obviously, it'll take a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on whether you just stick to Critical Path or you totally explore the side quests. Because there is Critical Path missions and side quest missions too. So it give or take a few hours based on your play style, I guess. And then on top of that, they haven't detailed it yet, but there will be end game content and post game content. But there's no specifics of that right now. They basically don't know, I would guess. They don't know exactly what that's going to be, if it's going to be seasonal, if it's going to be anything like that. This service-based model, I'm not sure whether... They probably doubt it based on the fact that they come out and said it's not a game as a service, but I don't know what their interpretation of that is.
And I guess 40 hours will be as one character or one class, right? Do you know if you can respec or interchange different classes, or is it like one playthrough as the Pyromancer and then another playthrough as the Trickster or something?
I don't think you can. I think you respec your skills, but I don't think you can respec your to a different class. But you can have as many characters as you want play out at once. So you could have a character for each class and just play. So
that's potentially then, if there's 4 classes, 160 hours if you're going to do a playthrough with everyone.
With each of them,
if they're all hitting 40.
Yes. So this was the first time that anybody got hands-on with the game. I can't remember what the date was. It was like 2-3 weeks ago now. And so the next up, Sebastian Wojciechowski from the People Can Fly studio head, he came on stage, and he confirmed that there's over 230 developers working on this game, which is a huge bump from where they were previously. Now, obviously, Square Enix are publishing this game, and they're partnered with Square Enix on this game. They pitched to Square Enix accepted, and they come up with a deal. And then part of that is that they're just growing all the time. They've got a studio in Newcastle, New York, and they've got 2 in Poland, 1 in Warsaw, which I visited the guys in Warsaw, although we didn't go to the studio. It was a different place. So they're a big studio now. Yeah. And if you think that, Bulletstorm was a kind of sleeper hit, among people who played it, loved it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a real big hit. It wasn't like a box office type deal. So it's kind of under the radar for a lot of people. But it's a whole different situation now.
Yeah, this will be it'll make them. This game, if it goes well,
Yeah.
will be like the making of them, and it'll be really throw their name into the limelight, and people know who People Can Fly are. If it's good,
yeah. If people accept this game and they adopt it and play it and make it their next like multiplayer game that they play with the mates or whatever, then this will be huge for People Can Fly. And I think that one of those studios, from my impressions of talking to the developers and seeing how they operate, they're one of those. They are a creative studio and they are passionate, and they're making this game because they want to make it, because they came up with it, not because they were imposed some sort of ideas by like some corporate entity or anything like we've discussed previously. They're not doing it for the sake of doing it because they've been told to do it. They're doing it because they love shooters. They've done shooters. They're passionate about shooters. They've done it in the past, and this is the game that they wanted to make. And now the ideology, what they're aiming for with this game, is a fusion, like I mentioned earlier, between RPG, shooting, and other things. Like they're bringing a lot to the table in terms of different variable things. And what I kind of equated to is I said it kind of feels a lot like a buffet, right? There's a lot of things on offer. Like, I mean, I haven't talked anything about the RPG elements that are in there, right? But there's multiple choice dialogue. So if you want to just get your feet wet with the lore or jump in deeply, let's say, for example, you're talking to one of the NPCs and there's 3 dialogue options. There's one critical path option at the top, and there's 2 or 3 other options which you can go in deeply. And if you select one of them, it might be a 5-minute cutscene where you're talking about the lore, you're talking, you've got this relationship with other NPC. When you're talking about the past, you're talking about what happened, you're talking about plans for the future. There's a lot to it, and that was just one dialogue choice that I skipped through because I didn't have the time or the patience to sit there. And during the whole scene, you stood there by a tree, you go and sit down, you carry on a conversation, and you stand up again. There's a lot going on. It's not just a single line of dialogue and then it's done. There's a lot gone into that, right? And in terms of the character and the interaction and the acting, all top notch. I can't fault that. They really got me invested. The characters are always good. Like, if you remember Bulletstorm, you always remember. All right, they were a bit
cartoony, kind of like over the top,
a bit like that Gears of War type of thing coming out, wasn't it? But these characters are great. It's really well acted, and the stories are told really well. So if you are interested in a game for its RPG, like a sci-fi world for its RPG elements, you should probably take a look at this at the very least to see if it's got on offer what you find attractive, I guess. And then you add that to the loot-based system, which they've taken a lot from Diablo in terms of the loot and the difficulty levels. Now, from what I experienced, every time you leveled up, you'd go up a difficulty level, and you can set that on your own, or you could just allow it to get more difficult as you go along. But it's basically, there's so many different tiers that you unlock the next tier, you get 25% harder enemies, but you get 25% bigger loot or whatever, and they upgrade incrementally like that. And at any point, you can just go back to an easier level. But if you just let it go, there's like 10, 15 different. I don't know how many there are, but there's just loads of them, like there is in Diablo.
So, because this is a co-op thing, does that scale individually? So, if you're playing on easy, your loot experience will be slightly different to the person who's playing on hard in your party?
Well, this is an interesting question. I put this question to the developers, and they said that it's the person who hosts the game who sets the difficulty level.
Okay.
So if you're playing with somebody else and they're on a hard difficulty, then you're playing under their difficulty. However, the game will scale based on how many players. The difficulty will scale depending on how many players you're playing with. If you're on your own, it won't be as hard. If you're with 3, there'll be more enemies and it'll be harder.
Because you can play this fully single player, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing that they kind of iterated, is that you can play the whole thing single player without anybody else playing with you. So, I mean, for me, that's ideal.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily want to need to have players playing with me all the time. I want to play on my own, at my own pace, in my own time. I don't have to schedule. I don't have to, set some time aside when everyone else is online or whatever. I want to do it at my own pace, and that's great. It's great that they're given that option, and this is back to the idea that it's
drop in, drop out, right? So if you do ever want to be able to do it co-op all of a sudden, you can just do it and then stop again if you need to.
Yeah, and that comes back to the idea that, you know, it appeals to a lot of different people for many different reasons. So my impression, that's all the info, right? And the game launches in holiday 2020, comes to the PS5, the Xbox Series X, PC, and older consoles too. So they've given that launch window, which they're pretty confident they're going to hit, judging by what they said when I asked them. Now, my impressions of the game, I've given you some already, but it's a grounded personal story, which takes place through the interaction of characters. Like, you're living the story as it plays. They're not telling you about what happened, and I find that sometimes that's a bit disengaging, where you're just like you're coming to this world after stuff's happened. You're like, oh shit, what happened here? You live through it. There's the whole prologue where you live through what happens to this. I'm not going to spoil it, but you live through what happens to this this planet. So there's a lot of exposition there and lore there if you want it. If you want to delve in deeper, but otherwise you can just skip through it, like I did. So gameplay wise, from my time with the Pyromancer, the weapons felt really satisfying. I used the sniper rifle a lot. I used the assault rifle a lot, and the powers were very satisfying for the Pyromancer. I spoke to the guy who I got talking to across the way from me. He was the trickster to begin with, and he didn't find it that satisfying. Maybe because it's a little bit more difficult, because you've got to be in your face and you've got to be healing close to people. It's a bit like, you know, imagine the gameplay of Doom. Like you've got to keep going forward. You've got to keep attacking in order for the ball to keep rolling on the character.
Yeah, I guess you just got to find what suits your play style. Speaking of picking something that works for you, do you get any character creation because it's an RPG? Like, do you pick a set person, or do you get control of who they are and what they look like?
Absolutely. You got a character creator. Obviously, you pick male or female. You define the look, the face. The whole shebang with character creation. Okay. Everything is there. Some of the powers that there was one power with a Pyromancer where you'd punch the ground and like a big fire, a row of fire would come out in a dark line in front of you. So any enemies that were in that line would all get affected by it. There was another power where it was an area effect around you, and it'd slow everyone down and burn them, which was my favorite one pretty much, because anyone who comes too close to you, you do that move and they all freeze and they're all burning, and you shoot them and you heal up, and that was good. And there was another one where you target someone further away and they just like lift up and start burning and explode, and that was really the powers were really fun from my experience. I really had a good time with the Pyromancer, and I think that class will be a great starting point for any player. But then again, I haven't played the other two or the one that they haven't announced yet. So,
do you know if when you're in co-op you have to all play as different classes, or could, in theory, all three members of your party just be the same one? It'd probably be quite an unbalanced encounter, but you could all be the same one.
You can all be the same one. It just so happened that we all picked different ones.
Oh, well, that's good.
When we started, which was cool. So yeah, we all went about being the different characters. It was I think from what I saw of the other character classes, they all look pretty satisfying too. The powers and shit like that. And yeah, other than that, characters are vibrant. We talked about that. Well acted, dialogue was well written, and it's a well put together game. You wouldn't, someone of the caliber of People Can Fly, who've done Bulletstorm in the past. It's not Bulletstorm level. It's a different level. It's a higher level of game. And we've talked about how they've expanded, and it looks like they're doing a great job. And I think one of the problems for me is the way that the marketing doesn't reflect so far how the game plays and how the game looks, and it feels like there's just so much more to this game that's been shown in the marketing material. And that's one of my main fears for this, is that people don't connect with it based on what they see in the trailers. But that isn't what the game's like, from my experience.
Because the first trailer was like a CG pre-rendered one, and like that's all well and good, but you don't learn anything from it. The recent one which came out this week, it's like gameplay stuff, but it's shot from like different angles, so it doesn't really look like gameplay, so you can't really tell. You just need some proper, uncut gameplay, unedited. I mean, obviously edited a little bit, but
I might do that, because I've got over an hour worth of footage. I might just, for viewers, just cut some highlights from, because I'm only allowed to do 20 minutes maximum in one video, so I'll just cut a highlight reel together and post that unedited,
just
as
intro,
unedited,
outro, that's it,
and then and no voiceover or anything, just so that people get a feel of what it looks like to play in the different scenarios, and then they can make their own minds up then whether it is or it isn't like Destiny or Anthem or Gears of War or whatever else people want to compare it to. Because I think that when it comes to deciding whether you want to play it, it's like, oh, it's that game that looks like Anthem, or it's that game that looks like Destiny. I think that's doing this game a disservice. I really do.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people, from what I've seen in the trailers especially, because I was interested in what people thought about it based on this newest trailer. So I posted on Twitter, I posted in the Discord, and a lot of it was like, meh, Anthem.
Yeah.
Or I'm interested in it, but there's no gameplay yet. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to end up for them, but I'm very, very much interested in this game, not from the game as a service, play with your mates type angle, where it's just a game to faff about with your mates on. From the point of view that it's a new sci-fi IP in a whole new world, new lore. You can play it single player, and there's there's RPG elements in it, and there's a lot to discover in terms of the story and the narrative and things. And I did like Bulletstorm. It is a good game, and there is some humor in there too.
Yeah,
like Bulletstorm had.
That's the thing. The fundamentals about Bulletstorm is it's a first-person shooter where the point of it is to shoot things. Like it's a creative shooting. That's the game's like gimmick, is killing things creatively. So long as it gets that down, the fundamentals of shooting, then it's off to a cracking start.
It's all about the gameplay loop for me, right?
Yeah.
It's how it balances that out. Like, how much of a grind is it killing all these monsters and enemies coming at you, and how much of a reward is it when you get back to base and you're able to cash in all your stuff that you've looted and upgrade your weapons and your armor and things like that. So I mean, I won't know that until I've played enough of the game.
Yeah.
But it's one of those games where you just have to have hands on with it to see whether you like it. But the gameplay, the shooting, solid, absolutely solid. You can't follow it. They do know what they're doing when it comes to feedback, weapon feedback, and making it satisfying to kill stuff. Yeah, absolutely. The weapons and the powers, from my experience, very good. If that's what you're interested in, that type of stuff, it's a thumbs up.
Awesome. Well, if you've got nothing else to say about Outriders, I think this is a nice time to move on to the game I've been playing recently. Because it's a similar sort of loot situation. Because I've been playing Diablo 3, the Eternal Collection, which is the Switch version where it pulls all of the different DLCs. I can't remember what they're called. And I'm having a pretty good time. Not a perfect time, but a pretty good time.
Right.
Because so I'm playing as a Crusader, and that's basically a paladin or a knight. And I picked him because he was a big, heavy-looking guy with an enormous shield, and I was like, that sounds great. So I'm basically using a sword and shield the whole time. Sometimes a big, two-handed sword if I want a bit of extra power. And in case you're not really aware of Diablo, it's like an isometric RPG where you're killing loads and loads and loads of demons, and you're collecting loot and getting better weapons and armor and going through and saving the world in your fantasy ways. Good versus evil, all that kind of bollocks. So there's a constant flow of loot, which is great, and it's got drop-in, drop-out co-op on the Switch version, which is quite a selling point. But my girlfriend's resisting my I was going to say persuasion, but it's not. It's pestering and demands, like, play Diablo with me. So I haven't tried that yet.
Can we kill
personally.
demons?
Yeah. I'm playing mainly in handheld, and it holds up real nice.
I played it completely in handheld on the Switch.
I think I put it on in my dock once because I'm mainly playing it on my commute. Totally stable, 60 FPS pretty much the whole time. And I looked up some Digital Foundry stuff. They said, yeah, it's just great.
It does play really well.
One of the best quality Switch ports around. So that's awesome. And one little thing, which I think is like one of the best ideas any RPG has ever had, is they call it transmography, which is where you can take a piece of armor or a weapon and say it looks really ugly, because that's the biggest toss-up when it comes to an RPG. It's like my guy looks awesome, everything's come together, and then you get a new item and it's bright pink and it looks ridiculous. I'm like, well, now it completely undermines me being a badass warrior. There's nothing more immersion breaking for me when I'm trying to save the world from all these demons and he looks like fucking Hello Kitty or some shit. But with transmography, you can keep all the stats, but you just reskin it.
Yeah.
So you can turn a sword into an axe, or an axe into a sword, or your armor from a big metal thing into just like a leather tunic, or you can dye it and change its colors, or even dye it so that it's invisible. So if you want to keep your helmet for all the stats and effects and stuff, but not actually wear it, you can turn it off. And I think that's like the best thing ever, because it means when
ultimate in personalization, right?
Yeah, because when my guy looks like an idiot, it completely takes me out of it. I'm like, it's just you ruined it.
Yeah.
So the story's so far, anyway, I think I'm at the sort of halfway to the beginning of Act 2, and it's kind of just run of the mill high fantasy setting. Angels and demons, they're at war with each other, and they hate each other. The humans are in the middle, being mortals and doing what mortals do. Demons are trying to take over the world, and angels are trying to stop them, but there's a bit of like politics among the angels, and they don't really want to get involved or whatever. The game opens with a mysterious like falling star or like a meteor smashing into this cathedral, and you have to find out what it is, what's the crack, and why are all these dead people coming back to life? What's going on? My only problem with the game so far, because I'm enjoying it, is that it's kind of really repetitive.
Yeah.
And that's the nature of these kind of games. With the heavy emphasis on loot and grinding for loot and stuff, is I'm killing a lot of enemies and I'm getting a lot of stuff. I'm like, oh, it's a cool sword. Oh no, I've got another one, but like instantly.
Yeah.
And like that can be rewarding for a lot of people, but me, I'm kind of just like, I'm doing a lot of the same thing and getting a lot of the same stuff, just with different numbers.
No, I get exactly what you mean, and I think that part of the that is a lot of the enjoyment of Diablo for me is getting that. Oh, what's that new power? What's this new power I've got now? I've got access to this power. I'll try it out. I'll see how that works with my current setup.
Yeah.
See where I can fit it in. Does it worth leaving that bound to one of my buttons, or shall I go back? What kind of enemies have I got now? Like what powers have I got in order to overcome these enemies? And just those incremental advancements or new powers and new weapons and new armor and stuff like that, it really is rewarding feedback for me, and it keeps me wanting more and it keeps me grinding through the game. However, I can see how if that doesn't appeal to you in the same way, you can just think of it as grind.
Yeah, I think my problem with it is tied in with another problem, is that I think it's a bit too easy, and that is probably because I'm right at the beginning, but I've knocked the difficulty up. I think the default is normal, and I always play on whatever the default is, and I've knocked it up to hard, and then there's like a million more after that, which you have to unlock, and
you just got to keep going
through.
You can only go up one per time you start the game or something, so you've got to save it and go out and go back in and then knock it up again.
So yeah, that's made things a bit better, but I think it's because when I get a new item, if it's not like massively different, I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, well, it'll be a little bit different, so there is a point, but I'm like, I don't feel like I've really earned something. But then when I get to like a boss and I kick the shit out of it, and then all of the stuff comes spewing out, I'm like, I like seeing that. And I go through it all, I'm like, none of this is any good. All of my current equipment's better. I'm just going to sell it all and reforge it with the blacksmith. But it is fun. I just feel like I need a little more to push against to make me work for it.
Yeah. Well, put the
so I need
difficulty
to
up in
difficulty up. And again, that's part of the reason why I want to play in co-op, is so that I can be like, we can get excited together. It's like, oh, I've got a cool axe. Do you want it? No, I've got a bow, baby. I'm all right.
Yeah.
Especially as being the way I'm playing this Crusader character is very aggressive and heavy, and big emphasis on strength and defense. So he's basically a tank. And anytime I've got someone in my party, I'm trying to have them be a ranged person so they can like just sit at the back. And I've got an ability which is to summon some I think they just call them avatars, like these spirits that come fight for me. And I've got an ability on top of that which turns them into archers. So I can just be like, right, party member be there, all of these archers there, and I'll just fucking run in and chop up whoever's left. But then if I get a real person, they can actually use a real human brain, not a stupid in-game AI brain, and do things properly.
Yeah.
But I am having a lot of fun. I do think I just need a little bit more.
Yeah. A part of the appeal is, it's like you mentioned there, you're able to, conjure these ghosts or whatever, and then give them the ability to be archers. Like there's just almost an infinite amount of ways that you play styles and ways that you can approach situations and combinations of attacks that you can use and things like that. But how many classes are to begin? Like there's 9+ classes, something like that.
Something like that. I did know them. There's like a barbarian, a crusader, a devil hunter, a necromancer, a wizard, a monk. And there might be more, but I can't remember anymore.
Yeah. So that just gives you an almost like endless amount of options in terms of combat, and I think that's something that really appeals to personally from my experience with the game.
Yeah.
So there you go. Are you done?
Yeah. Have you been playing anything interesting, or do you want to?
Well, I've been playing Final Fantasy VII, but you've talked about that a lot recently, right?
Well, what do you think about it briefly? Then are you invested? Because we've briefly talked about it off the airwaves.
Well, it took me a while. Like my initial impression was, oh my god, the setup is so cheesy and it's so unrealistic. The way that they all meet together at the start, and the way that they're talking to each other like they're 5-year-olds in the schoolyard, it just wasn't connecting to begin with, and the motivations therefore were a little bit sketchy, and I was like, I'm not really getting why they're doing stuff and how they're. But once they get to know each other and once they've got common goals, the motivations become more clear, and you get to learn about the characters, and it's like, right, this makes a lot more sense now. I'm feeling it a lot more.
They drop you in very hard. It's just like, boom, here's some stuff, here's some words. Yeah. Remember them because they're going to be really important. And also because I think I learned the other day that it was translated by one guy. Yeah. So a lot of the dialogue, the actual writing in the dialogue boxes is at best childish. Yeah. And at worst incorrectly translated because it was one guy and he makes mistakes. Yeah. But the actual overall story in terms of the plot, not necessarily the individual writing, I really like. Yeah. And then once you kind of get a feel for who people are, the characters feel a lot more likable.
I got Red last night.
Yeah, he's cool.
Yeah.
He's like
so I don't know how far that is into the game. Maybe.
Band. Oh, no, you've got loads to go.
But yeah, that's how far I am now. And I'm invested, and I'll play it. I'm quite happy because you can go at 3 times the speed. And so without that, I would not be playing it. Better than that, yeah. I'm really enjoying it. But obviously my impressions are early. And it's fun. I'm looking for side games though, because I know there's side games in a lot of Final Fantasies. Is there any? Yeah,
and a lot of them just piss me off. I was like, I don't want to. There's a Chocobo race. Yeah, I hated it. Did you? I really just wanted to get it over with. I hated it so much. The whole of the not the flying saucer, the golden saucer. It's like a casino place that's meant to be really expensive. Like that's kind of the point. It's like, look at how shit it is. But I'm like, I haven't got enough currency to put up with this shit. I just want to get through it.
Yeah, I'm probably going to love that when that arrives. That's for sure. Go gambling. Yeah. There you go. That's Final Fantasy VII and my impressions thereof. Early impressions that they be. Yeah, we're going to move on now to
some Discord questions. Have a quick.
These questions are put to us by our Discord members who are the Patreon supporters over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. These are the guys that put up and don't shut up. Is that a good way to put it? Yeah, they support the content so that we can continue to bring you the videos on YouTube, without which we wouldn't be able to do. So as a return, as a favor, as a thank you, we answer their questions every single week. So if you do want to ask us a question, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. First up, who do we have?
The first one is from DC the Tog. Next time PGG is invited to an event, will we see a pretty good vlog with you guys taking turns manning the gimbal or monopod and giving the pretty good community a little behind the scenes action? Would be pretty epic if you guys crashed an EA event and got some scenes of you guys calling them on their bullshit from the crowd.
Yeah, I don't know if we're that kind of people.
Likely to get invited to an EA event.
And if we were,
promptly get thrown out.
Yeah, we're not that rowdy. In real life, I mean, we talk shit to a camera because it's easy, right?
It's safe.
But yeah,
Andrew Wilson's robot isn't going to come after us.
I mean, I'd have questions for Andrew Wilson. I wouldn't be rude, but I'd have some pointed questions for him. But I'm not a kind of rude person. You know what I mean? There are better things. You know, I'm not someone who's going to make a scene just because. You know, I'm not a loud person when it comes to the public.
And I think the problem with a lot of behind the scenes stuff is that at these events, it's very limited on what you can and can't capture.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We were told we're not allowed to capture anything like on the screen and show that until after the embargo. But other than that, yeah, there was plenty we could have captured. But it's just like it's a very specific appeal. I find that only a very certain amount of people are going to want to watch that. And it takes a lot of editing, it takes a lot of preparation and filming and stuff. And also, there's the burden of knowing you can't just go there and enjoy your time. You've got to think about producing, got to think about being entertaining, you got to think about, you know, there's a lot more to producing videos than just turning the camera on and being naturally charismatic, because
we can't do that.
I don't think anyone's naturally charismatic. Only select few people are. Let's be honest. So yeah, it's not always that easy as just shouting at people from the crowd, which would be fun. But I don't know. Maybe if we got invited to more events, we could.
I mean, by all means, if EA want to invite us to an event,
we promise not to heckle. Andrew.
I was going to say we promise to. So we've got another question here. I think it's probably best if I read this one, because this is a recurring question from patron supporter Metal Shark, and he's been asking me various quiz questions.
Been putting you on the spot for weeks.
Yeah, and they've been not going very well.
No, you had a bad week last week.
I think, what did I get, like 4 out of 12 or something?
4 out of 10 or something, yeah.
But they're normally...
The law of averages, because they're 50-50, you're going to get 5.
Yeah, that's so. one would think. And it was, are these words blank or a PC part or a PC manufacturer or something like that?
Like it's something out of Star Trek, Star Trek.
I did all right on the Star Trek one.
Yeah, Star Trek.
I did all right on that one. But now this week, the tables have turned, and it's now my turn to quiz you.
The board has been flipped.
So this is, after last week's performance, it seems Henry could do with a break for revision. Yes, please. So this week's quiz is for Gaz. Is it a location in the Gears universe,
which I know nothing
a location
about.
In Essex?
I know nothing about either.
I'm not sure about some of these.
Arkesden. Arkesden is the first
Arkesden.
one. So do you know the answers? Or you're going to have to get
answers up.
Yeah, you're going to have to get. But you can
seal this.
Well, once it's black, you click on them to get the answers. So you don't. So I won't see it unless you click on it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's spoiler tagged. Okay. Arkesden. I have no idea.
Arkesden sounds like a location in Essex.
Essex. It is Essex. It's a village and civil parish, population of 366 in the 2011 census. Well, there you go.
I wasn't sure, and then you said it, and then Arkesden. I was like, yeah, that sounds like something that come off a Cockney's tongue.
Well, people from Essex aren't Cockneys, and I am not a Cockney.
All right, mate, whatever.
All right, what about Berefus?
Berefus, that's Gears. That has to be Gears.
I reckon this has got to be a Gears one. Gears, city located on the coast of the Austrian Republic, came under heavy naval and air attack from COG naval ships during Operation Leveler.
2 for 2.
Landdown.
I'm going to
Go
go
on,
with
you're
my
on the clock
gut here. Land down. I'm going to go with my gut here. It's Essex.
I knew that was a Gears one.
Bastard.
Site of 2 battles, both the fall of Landown during the Winter of Sorrows and the assault of Landown in the aftermath of the Light Mass Offensive.
Okay.
You have no idea what any of that means.
No. Next up.
Langenhoe.
That is Gears.
I don't know that one, actually. Apparently that's an Essex village in the Colchester district of Essex, population of 572 in the 2011 census.
So that's 2 for
I know
4.
where Colchester is. I don't know where fucking Langenhoe is. What about Messing?
Messing's Essex, right?
Let's have a look. Essex, apparently,
was
village
easy.
and
That was
former
easy.
civil parish. I mean, it sounds too ordinary for a Gears
Messing,
thing.
yeah.
Oskany.
Oskany. We've had 2 Essex in a row. I'm trying to second guess you now, Metal Shock. I think that's got to be a Gears.
I'm not sure about that one. Gears, yeah. City in Kashkur. Yep. Located 50 miles inside the border from Furlin in 17 BE. Well, there you have... there's another line. In 17 BE, Oskany was captured by Furlin's 3rd Infantry without a fight. What about Rien?
Rien. I'm going to go with Essex.
I think that's a Gears one. I think I might have mispronounced it, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's a Gears one.
What was it supposed? How was it supposed to say it
I
then?
think it might be Rhine.
Oh, well, it's obviously Gears then. If you just said it like that.
But I think it... But I'm not sure. It's one or the other. Because I don't think I've ever seen it spelled in Gears. I think they've said Rhine.
Right.
So, but I would pronounce that Rien.
Right, it looks French anyway.
I mean, there's 2 N's in it. Gears City in Sarfuth, Colonel James Choi chose the Rhine as a point where Cog forces from the 26th Royal Tyrant Infantry would counterattack the Indy forces. Well, this is very complicated. Speyer.
Speyer has to be Essex.
It's a Gears one again. Major industrial city in Tyrus, located near Tollen and the Tollen Dam, known as the heart of cog manufacturing.
Oh dear. Okay.
Tendring.
Tendring is Essex. I know that.
Tendring is Essex, village and civil parish. You did just guess.
It was 3 Gears in a row. I mean, come on.
In 2011, the parish had a population of 736. My tongue is falling out of my mouth here. And what about Wivenhoe?
Wivenhoe is Essex.
I think that is Essex, yes.
So
town and civil parish, population of 7,637.
So I got 6 out of 10 there. That's not so bad.
You did very well. I didn't.
It's not so bad.
I didn't know half of these, so none of them are...
Wivenhoe sounds definitely Essex. Tendring, again.
Yeah, I know.
Sounds very much not Gears.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
They're just ordinary places.
And Messing, I'm pretty sure I've heard of Messing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I was guessing.
Yeah. Most of these, it would have just been a guess from me. I know Landown is a Gears one. I know Tendring and Wivenhoe. I think I knew Oskany was Gears one. Yeah, that was quite a mixed one. But feel free to give me another quiz to lead, Shark. I don't know what areas of expertise you would include for me, but we will continue it.
There we go. Now, next question is from Cloney. And again, guys, I'm on a roll. Shag, Marry, Kill, Monster Girl Fighters Edition. Number 1.
No doubt a few people will be skipping this one because some people were complaining in the comments.
I'll go through as concisely as possible. 1, Majin Android 21 from the Dragon Ball series, with a constant hunger for sweets derived from the main Majin Buu. She is an enemy to behold, so she's like a pink-haired thing. Eliza, the sexy immortal narcoleptic vampire from Tekken 7. Does that mean she falls asleep all the time? So she's a vampire. Kinky vampire.
Vampires often sleep for hundreds of years, don't they? So I feel like that's...
And lastly, the original killer bee, Devourer, as a chitin, a swarm of sentient insects. She is a deadly fighter with multiple moves and additional limbs, destroying foes in the Mortal Kombat series. Okay, now, Cloney answers it first. I think I have a correct answer here. I'd shag Majin Android 21 because I've always been a fan of Boo and she's hot. I'd marry the mortal narcoleptic vampire for the immortality alone, and the chitin will, while surely interesting, gets the stick. Or in this case, the fly swatter, I'd go with her for a shag just out of the sheer curiosity, assuming I'd survived the experience. But that would mean killing Boo, and we all know how difficult it is to pull that off. P.S. If you want to support me in picking themes or games for Shag, Marry, Kill game, or compliment Akimaren on the authenticity of a CEO simulator, or tell Not That Rob Low what your favourite game is this week, you can do this over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Another plug then, and thanks for that, Mr. Cloney. For the price of less than a single sushi roll a month. Also, leave a comment, but I can't promise we will all see them. P.S. Trivia: the Majin are actually a race of aliens, demons in the Dragon Ball lore, and become their own race later on with Majin Buu and Lady Buu. I'm not going to read that next bit. And yeah, do you have an answer?
It's the same as Cloney's. It'll be Shag, Android 21, because she's all right. She's in Dragon Ball FighterZ, but she's not really in the show. We don't really know much about her, but her kind of shtick is she wants to turn people into food and eat them. That's the abridged version. Eliza, the vampire, she's got to be the marriage material because she's a vampire. Vampires are cool, and I'm not going anywhere near this bug, Devora. Devora can fuck off.
Sick.
She's weird. She's made of bugs, and she's got like extra bug arms that come out of her back in MK11. It's weird. Not about that.
Okay, we've reached a consensus there. I totally agree with you.
You just don't want to engage in this.
No, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, that's just how it is, right?
And yeah, he's right. Killing Android 21 would be nearly impossible. She'd kick the shit out of all of them because she's really powerful.
Well, I have to take your word for that. I don't know
so she doesn't play by any real rules.
Take your word for that.
Okay, next question for Metal Shark. Potential conversation topic. Have been running this Minecraft server for 3 weeks now, and it's exposed me to a whole new economy in games. You have paid for mods, some are upfront, some are subscription/Patreon, and have to be evaluated for quality and likelihood to keep existing. Then you have maps, schematics, map elements, characters, pets, skins, and multitude of artwork created through whole networks. Instead of traditional games where you buy the game, the DLC/expansions, the microtransactions, and the subscription from a single source, here you are buying the game from one source, then are free to explore an open and vibrant market. Open world, too many video games on the mind. Open and vibrant market with great creators, bespoke work. Better yet, you can help improve and fix bugs. The buying and selling of goods and services in an open market built around the game is liberating compared to the dystopia of large publishers and the AAA industry with the likes of the Creative Club. What are your thoughts? Appreciate Minecraft isn't everyone's cup of tea, so is there a game you'd like to see a similar thing happen to? Is there a title you'd consider paying for a third-party mod, map, NPC, etc. in? Whew.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a good way. I mean, you think of the
community content at its finest.
Yeah, and the fact that people are able to monetize their work in this way is a great thing because creators can get a little back for
all their hard work.
Yeah, what they're doing, and the fact that you've got like the likes of Bethesda and more recently the Warcraft 3 Reforged thing where they say anything that you create on top of this game is ours, and we it totally kills the creativity of that game. And maybe I'm wrong, maybe people will still create stuff in that game, but I think this is a great way, because you can take it or leave it, so the user yourself, you don't have to pay for anything, but there's additional content there made by passionate creative people who will get rewarded if you do end up buying it. So yeah, I totally do this in whatever game, if there was additional content for I don't know, Fallout New Vegas or anything else that I love.
Well, Dreams comes out tomorrow for us. It'll already be out for you if you're watching, and that's the.
Are we getting that? Have you been in contact with Sony to get that?
I don't know. I think I was ages ago, but I don't know if it went.
Let's chase that up.
Yeah, so that's like it's a game creator. But even that's kind of an oversimplification. But the developers themselves have said ages ago and in multiple interviews, ideally the game will get to a point where creators can find a way to monetize it within, like, even if it's got its own page on the PlayStation Store or something like that. Yeah. So that would be amazing. Obviously, you'd have to be a certain tier of game, otherwise it'd just turn into Steam when anyone can upload anything and charge anything, and they'll just be garbage. But I think finding the balance here of user-generated content and it being worth paying for is a tough line to walk, but based on what you've said, Metal Shark, it sounds like the Minecraft community, or at least this particular server, has found a little good spot. I don't know any games that I'd do that to, though.
Buy additional content. Any game that you've played to completion and you want more content out of, you'd consider buying a worthwhile
Yeah.
additional bit of content.
I think for any game where they have limited like something, like if it's got limited cosmetics and you could download extra skins, or limited map packs for a multiplayer game, or even a non-multiplayer game, just anything like that would work. Like the ability to play Days Gone in some of the different skins in that, because you can get him in the challenge mode. There's one in particular where, you know, the one in the flashbacks where he's got like he's just got like a shirt on underneath the thing.
Yep.
That looks really cool because he looks just like Jax from Sons of Anarchy. So I'd play in that the whole time, but I can't access it. So little things like that I'd love.
Yeah. Cool.
Anywho, we should probably move on to another question.
Next question from Tons. So in the light of the Anthem overhaul, and Better Let It Die, and It Takes the Loss, but what do I know? I'm not a money-hungry megacorp. What game never lived up to its potential, and do you think deserves the 2.0 overhaul? Ooh, good question. Good question.
Well, this most often happens to games as a service type things, at least recently. And I don't really play any of those. So there's nothing on my mind.
What never lived up to its potential? I don't know. I don't know if it's fair to say that one, because it has changed a lot.
Well, I think Battlefront 2 has sort of done that, but very incrementally.
Yeah.
Because they've relaunched it, but they called it something like the Celebration Edition, like just before Christmas, which is just a massive opportunity for a cash grab. But it's bringing all of the unlockable items and skins and cosmetics and crap under one thing, rather than having to unlock them. And I was like, yeah, that's skipping the grind, but which, like, buying that version of the game you don't need to if you've got the original, which you can get for 15 quid like I did. But that game has got so much better over time from when it launched.
I think Mass Effect Andromeda would be a good shout. That didn't live up to its
any game that's
potential.
Disappointed with hype, or like a game, what's the werewolf one, PS5 launch, The Order 1866 or 1886. It looked really pretty.
Yeah.
Still does, but there was nothing to it. And it's like a 6-hour game for the first major AAA game on the PS4.
Yeah.
Relaunch that. I mean, there's always kind of little bubblings that there's going to be a sequel to that.
Yeah.
Where it will finally, get to the Order 1887 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I would have said No Man's Sky, but to be fair to them,
they've done it.
They've redeemed themselves
with Beyond.
I mean, it's not ideal how I'd like it, but then again, it's people love that game now, and I wouldn't hold any grudges against the Hello Games for that. Another one on this list is Watch Dogs, and I think that'd be a good shout as well, because the original Watch Dogs was supposed to be this dark, grimy type of world where you'd it just didn't hit home, and the second one was just too San Francisco. It was just too colourful and
too
bright.
hip and cool.
Man, don't get me started.
Everyone's wearing.
Look, we're hackers, man. We're cool. We're hackers. Oh, fuck me. I don't want to be a cool hacker.
I want to be
cool
a
hipster hacker.
Fuck. A moody guy in a trench coat with a hat pulled over his eye.
Yes. Yeah, so I'd say Mass Effect Andromeda, because I did love the previous installments of that game, and it didn't capture me. I don't know, maybe I should replay it now. Maybe I should try that again now.
Maybe something like, for me, Assassin's Creed, the French one, Unity, because I think that was the first one, around that point where I had bought all the others because I was massively into the story, and then that one came out and I was just like, nope, I'm not doing it to myself.
Yeah.
It's a really great setting in revolutionary France. Works great for an Assassin's Creed game. If you could use the barricades as like a mechanic, wasted potential, wasted opportunity.
There you go. Thanks for your question, Mr. Tons. Moving on to the final question, and here in spirit this week, Mr. Rob.
So he's not here. He's not posting the actual question, but we've been doing it regularly.
We know he wants to ask it.
You're a busy man, Rob. Busy not being the professional actor, Rob Lowe. But anyway, so this is our gaming year question, where every week we have to say our favourite game from a given year after the year of our birth. So when we started, we had to pick a game, and then it was +1, +1, +1, +1. The only stipulation is that we have to have played the game at some point, not necessarily at the time, because who played a game when they were a newborn baby? So my year is closing in very quickly. I'm all the way up to 2014. And there was a bunch of controversial games that all came out in that year. So Watch Dogs, as I just mentioned there, Assassin's Creed Unity, again, 2 Ubisoft titles as well, which failed to reach their fucking potential. Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes, which was the 25 quid fucking demo for Metal Gear Solid 5. Ridiculous. Wow. There was like a playable prologue.
Yeah.
Other titles which I haven't played include Dark Souls 2, Destiny, Far Cry 4, and Dragon Age Inquisition, so they're quite popular titles. The Last of Us Left Behind DLC, which is really good. Mario Kart 8, which is probably the game I've played more than anything last year. Infamous Second Son, Metro Redux, and now it's a toss-up between these two, and I still had to decide on the night. Well, I still haven't decided, but it's either Alien Isolation, one of the best stealth games around and one of the best horror games around, and Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, which had a lot of generic, boring open world features, but with the Nemesis system crammed in the middle, it was the most original thing ever. And I think I'm going to go for Shadow of Mordor because nothing else was like it.
There you go.
And no one else has used the Nemesis system. Like, why?
Yeah.
Just steal it from whoever makes it.
Steal it and call it the
I can't remember who does it.
Pegasus system or something, isn't it? Okay. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, Henry's game of 2014. My game is of the year 1999, and this is pretty easy. So it was easy because there's 2 leading standouts, right? GTA 2 was one that made 4th. Driver was 3rd. Now, the top 2 spots are made up of Medal of Honor, the original, and Siphon Filter. As soon as I saw Siphon Filter, I was like, that's it. That was awesome. And then I saw Medal of Honor, I was like, well, that game inspired such a revolution in the first-person genre, and as well as online competitiveness. And I played derivatives of Medal of Honor for years and years and years after. However, I'm going to give it to Siphon Filter.
Yeah. Because
there's nothing that's been like that ever since. I think Medal of Honor started a trend, but Siphon Filter was unique.
And I think the Medal of Honor let itself get overtaken by other things.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have Call of Duty without Medal of Honor.
No, absolutely.
Call of Duty's doing better than Medal of Honor is.
Yeah.
And they spell it the American way, which is just incorrect.
Which is wrong.
There is a U in honor, just like there is in armor and neighbor and humor.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyway, now we're going to move on to the famous segments, probably the best segment of the show. I hope you've got one ready to go. This is the Triggered Fanboy Comment of the Week.
Okay, I have a Triggered Fanboy Comment of this week. And it was posted on my Star Citizen video last Thursday, and it was like literally an hour or 2 after we recorded last week's podcast. However, this is a Star Citizen fanboy, and oh God, am I glad that I made that video. Okay, so this is from Darklight. And I did my best to summarize what happened with Star Citizen in the very beginning. I was being light with it. I was like, all right, there's 8 or 9 years worth of history here, and I'm going to summarize it as quickly as possible. That was the joke, and I just swept through it, and I knew I'd trigger somebody. Darklight says, it was your game release date set to be 2014, but now it's 2020 comment. That just made me unsubscribe. That argument is a dead horse that was beaten with a dead horse. Your lack of research is disturbing, since it was the Star Citizen backers that voted for CIG to continue development on a bigger scale back in 2014. I watch your other videos and find the same kind of twisting of facts. The fact is the game is progressing and development is ongoing. People calling it a scam just because it is. He's starting to project now. You know, it's like I didn't call it a scam, and he's bringing up the fact that people calling it a scam now. Like I'm bearing the brunt of all of his like pent up frustration about what people are saying about this game. People calling it a scam just because it is not moving fast enough for their taste and just being uninformed and ignorant.
Well,
oh my God!
Did you get any responses, any likes or anything like that?
None at all. It literally. What he said, what he quoted me as saying was, game release date set to be 2014, but now it's 2020. I never said that. I said that the game was originally pitched to release, or originally stated to release in 2014. I didn't say the release date was 2014. I said it was originally intended to release in 2014. I never said anything about them delaying it or because of see it because nobody did a vote or whatever. I didn't go into that because I was just summarising it because I was trying to be light and jovial with it. But it's now 2020. I didn't say the release date is 2020. I said it's now 2020 and there's no release date. The release date, we don't know when it's going to release. So he's completely picked my quote. He's misinterpreted what I've said. He's misquoted me.
Willfully, by the sound.
And it literally says on Wikipedia, the original intended release date was 2014. And that's exactly what I said. I went to Wikipedia. My lack of research is disturbing.
The Star Wars
and we always do
nice, but
no, he's misinterpreted what I've said. And he's gone off what other people might have said in the past. And he's given me both barrels. So in this instance, dude, you're fucking full of shit because I wasn't misinformed. I'd done my due diligence, that's for sure, and I presented the fact exactly as it was put on Wikipedia, and Wikipedia filtered through these facts to make sure that they're actual facts. So I made my fucking, I got my facts straight. You fucking didn't. Stop being a jerk.
Well, on that note, I've got...
There you go. He deserves both barrels after
Yeah,
fucking trying to give them to me, doesn't he?
I've got a couple potential ones from my video, which is about Nintendo blacklisting this Portuguese news outlet over Pokemon leaks. And this one, it's not so much just... They're not that triggered. They're just a bit disappointed. And they're not much of a fanboy. They're just a fan of us, or at least. So it's the disappointed fan comment of the week.
The disappointed PGG fan comment.
So this is from Stephen C. WTF, guys. Static faces, no outtakes. I like the new format, but not in the way it's been done here. It almost feels like I'm watching a mannequin with Henry's face deep faked onto it, and the outtakes always make me smile. It looks like you put as little energy into making this as possible. Please don't do it again. Sorry, no like for me on this one, but I won't dislike either.
Which video was that?
So this is yesterday's one. Well, yesterday time recording, which will be Wednesday.
Yeah.
Pokemon one. So the way it's been going for the last few weeks is I've been recording the Wednesday video at home because Gaz has shit to do on a Wednesday. God knows what. I think he's just playing with his balls.
I went to watch 1917 yesterday and played with my balls, although, you know.
He's just had a day off. I was busy working. So I understand
So bitter.
I understand this chap doesn't like that version as much. Well, it's not as good as seeing my animated face, but it's like I don't have a camera at home. So I've just got to make do.
Or a set.
You
need lights, you need a camera. It's not just fucking click your fingers and get a fucking video made. Come on.
I've established it in previous videos that I'm hiding under a duvet. So even if I had a camera and lights and an appropriate visual setup, the audio would be fucking garbage.
It'd be a duvet monster if...
And it gets very toasty under there, so you'd see me getting real sweaty, which wouldn't be very good. But I understand your disappointment, sir. But unfortunately, such is the way of the world. Maybe I'll take...
It's the same information. It's just the only difference is that the intro that you see, it just has a slideshow. That's it.
And the lack of outtakes is because I
There's
just
no
didn't make any mistakes. Not really.
I didn't make any.
Not that was like funny, and because it's not a video performance of me. It's just a static image.
You can't have like vocal outtakes.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, you can't see me going. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So there's no point.
It's not the same, is it?
And I'm not putting an outtake in unless I think it's funny.
It's not the same. Anyway, moving on to my question. My YouTube comment. This was on the. It doesn't matter what video it was on. LabDG says, I used to be annoyed that you kept calling it a new format when it didn't seem new anymore. Now I'm at the point where I kind of want you to keep calling it new format forever, if only to trigger people who gets annoyed by it. And I'm like, totally on the same page. That's the reason I call it new format. You don't anymore, do you?
No, I don't.
I noticed you stopped, but I do. I say this. Hope you enjoyed that new format, and it's over a month old.
Yeah.
5 weeks old now, it's not so new. But for people coming to the video for the first time, it's new.
It's new to them.
It's new for them.
Now, on the same note, someone who is getting upset with things we regularly say. So it's kind of a double one from the same guy. He's a returning customer. Where's the other one? There it is. So on one video, which was about, I think, something about Ubisoft promising 5 AAA games between April and next April. This guy's called Black Order. In that video, I was on autopilot for the old way we do things, and I forgot to say toss a coin. I felt like I'd let the whole team down. It's like scoring an own goal. This guy, Black Order, who's been regularly commenting, always screaming at us for saying it, he said, thanks for stop with toss a coin, thanks. And he got 2 likes, so people are obviously of a similar opinion. However...
Or him and one other person.
Or, other accounts. Then I got a paragraph on, again, this Nintendo Blacklist video. And forgive me, it is in a bit broken English, so I might struggle with this. From Black Order again. Okay, that's it. I'm done. I asked nice but got shit in return, but you think you guys are that way because it's like putting a cookie in front of a kid and say we only give you the cookie if you do what I say. AKA, I would not even think about giving money for beaning such dicks to people that ask if they freaking stop using toss a coin. So I'm done. You won't notice shit because of 305k, but I'm done with you guys. I regret even watching shit from you guys. Anyway, hope you guys change and you have a nice day.
Wow, I love that he blew up over it.
He got 1 like, so again, maybe it's him self-liking. Sounds like it. My favourite thing is the follow-up
Daniel Clark Hughes'
Daniel Clark Hughes, again, regular commenter. Boy. The fuck you on about, mate?
The fuck are you on about?
And then someone else commented, an attempt at being the triggered fanboy of the week, eh?
You didn't even fucking make it to that. Unlucky.
Yeah, that's because he's been a regular commenter before. Comment. He doesn't quite deserve to be the triggered boy.
No,
but he qualifies.
He doesn't have the prestige of a Star Citizen triggered fan, does he?
No, he doesn't. He's not a star.
There you go. So I have another Star Citizen triggered fanboy here. For another. Alex Serban says, so this is what's become of gaming media today. It's very easy to report a story about disagreements on Twitter. Please be better than this. This has just started to become tabloid news. We always report on people getting upset on Twitter, right? Yes, you might call it tabloid news if you're upset that we're talking about Star Citizen, the game which you might like. But unfortunately, we don't change just because you like a game. Fuck you.
Well, Twitter is the nature of the world, not just this channel. That a lot of news happens on Twitter. A lot of announcements are made on Twitter, so it's a good place to find stuff. Anyway, I've one here, and I'm sure you're aware. Part of the intro is that it's the three stories in one video, and the amount of times I've said 3 videos in one story with 0 faff. This person has somehow been so confused. Nevin82 said, how does one spell fuff?
0 fuff.
He's put fuff and spelled it in the thing.
Yeah.
The word is faff.
Faff, man. There's no you in faff.
I don't get it. Have you got any more? Because I got a couple more. One I need to dig out because I did have it, but I think I've lost it.
While you dig, I'll read this one. This is interesting though. So this is old dude McGretcheson. And he says, man, I'll tell you what's going to become of dang old Gears 6, man? Gears is the only reason they have a dang old Xbox One, man. I had to give up hamburgers and just eat dang old sandwiches in order to give up the dang old money to buy that contraption. Talk about dang old disheartening, man. And then, funnily enough, Joe Swervo replies to this comment.
So that wasn't Joe. There's a few others.
It says,
doing it now.
old dude McGretchen downgraded from hamburgers to sandwiches to save your money. Now that is a fucking commitment. Obviously, it says his alt account. I mean, I appreciate the effort you've gone to there, but nobody's buying the fact that this other guy thinks that hamburgers aren't sandwiches either. There's only you out there. I mean, we respect you for that, but don't try pulling the wool over. We know that's a troll account.
Hamburgers may not be sandwiches, but they can both be enjoyed in their own way. So it's not to besmirch either perfectly legitimate
trying to pull the wool over us.
So I got one here from William Phillips on BioWare Studio Reshuffle update. Gaz has run away. Oh, let's get the jokes. So this will be our final one. William Phillips. Who cares about Spider-Man? We have Batman, which is way better in combat and story and graphically. Spider-Man looked like shit. So Spider-Man looked. I was thinking it's funny. Spider-Man looks like shit. So you didn't play it, and now you're just butthurt because you like Batman better.
I love the Triggered fanboys.
Like, I didn't. No one even talks about Batman. And who cares about Spider-Man? Lots of people care about Spider-Man because it broke the PS4 record for the fastest selling game, and it got like 4 million units in 3 days. And it beat out God of War, which set the record earlier that year at 3 million units in 3 days. So
there you go. A lot of people care.
I mean, the Batman Arkham games are great, but that Spider-Man game, it might be better. I don't know.
So next up, it is that time again. It's time for the bad dad joke of the week. All right, you ready for this, Henry?
I'm ready.
Want to hear a joke about a piece of paper?
I do want to hear a joke about a piece of paper.
Never mind. It's terrible.
Ha!
Ha! Oh, lol. We should definitely have a wow.
We need.
Wow.
If I have time, I will try and eventually make a jingle.
Alexa, play sad trombone.
Hopefully you can hear that.
Done and done. And that is the podcast done. Thanks again for listening and watching, or whatever way you consume this podcast. On behalf of Henry and I, we will see you again in the next one. Until then, bye for now.